Welcome back, CIS 1400. Hopefully you've had a chance to watch the previous two videos and read the chapter on input validation, because that's what we're going to talk about. Input validation is actually a pretty simple process. We do it because what we want to make sure is that we have good input coming into our program so that we can give good output for our programs. We have a quick saying that says garbage in equals garbage out. So we want to make sure that we have the best input coming in possible so that our programs don't maybe crash or give us invalid output, to make sure everything's working appropriately. So input validation is always a looping activity. What we want to do is make sure that we keep asking for the input as much as we can until we figure out how to get the right input from the person. And once we do get the right input from the person, then we can progress through the program. So really not much to show here other than a couple of examples. So we'll get into that. Let's make a new Python file. I'm going to call it validation practice. All right. And let's say I have a program that needs just an even number to come in. So something very simple at first. So maybe we'll just gather some input. We'll call it a number equals int input enter an even number. And I'm going to be very specific. I need an even number. Otherwise, this program's not going to work appropriately. So here the trick is, excuse me, making sure that an even number gets put in. So I have a number come in, I can do something with it. What I'd like to do is check and make sure that it is even and progress through my program once it is, and if it's not, ask for it again. So I'm going to say something like while the number that was given, if it mod 2 is equal to, say, 1, or even better yet, not equal to 0, meaning it's not even, then I want to print some sort of error message like print number must be even. And then I'm really just going to write this entire line of code one more time. So I'm just going to copy and paste. And we want to make sure that we get an even number. And then once it's all said and done, I'm going to do a quick print statement just to show that we're out of the loop. Obviously, there might be something more to the program after this. And I'll just print a quick thank you message. If I could type. Okay. So let's run it and just see what happens. So obviously I can type in any kind of number I want. Let's say I type in a 7, which is obviously an odd number. It says the number must be even, enter an even number. Enter 9, number must be even, enter an even number. Not until I enter an even number like 6 does it actually progress and finish out, and then the program ends. Now, even numbers, odd numbers, not exactly the most exciting thing to talk about. So let's talk about maybe another piece of validating input. Maybe you've got this form, and somewhere in this form you're collecting email addresses. So let's talk about a problem something like that. So I'm going to comment this stuff out real quick. And let's go through, maybe I want to validate an email address. Now an email address has a couple of parts that you need to make sure is in every email address. There needs to be an @ symbol. And there has to be some sort of domain at the end, a .com, a .org, or a .net. So we'll check for those three things plus the @ symbol and make sure that we get a valid email address. So first let's print it and bring it in. So we'll go email equals input. Now this is just a straight string, so we'll say enter your email address. All right. And now we'll get into the looping scenario that we want to talk about. So first and foremost, we need to make sure that the @ symbol is in there. So we'll kind of, we'll check for that first and make sure that it's working appropriately. So let's go while that @ symbol is in, or not in, I should say, my email. And if that @ symbol is not in the email, I want to get the email again. So we might print something like print missing the @ symbol. And then maybe we will collect the email again. So we're going to go through and do this. And again, at the very end, I'll print a quick thank you. Okay, so let's just test that. We'll just do one little quick thing. And we'll see how it runs. Make sure it's working appropriately. So I can type in an email address. I'll type in like hello.com, and it says it's missing the @ symbol, which is perfect. Then we try hello@gmail.com, and that worked. Okay, so the @ symbol checked. Now I'd also like to be able to check for this domain at the very end, the .com, the .net, or the .org. So I don't need a separate looping activity for that. I can actually use this exact same looping activity, and I can do sort of the same idea. I want to see if a certain subset or substring of my email is inside or is a .com, a .org, or a .net. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually come up with this. I'm going to call it domains, and I'm going to make it like this list of possible domains. So I'm going to go .com, .org, and then we'll do .net. So I'm just going to separate them with commas, and these are the three things that I'm really looking for: .com, .org, .net. And we may not have talked about this, but Python has this in operator that returns Boolean, but it also has a negation operator called the word not, which will allow us to test if something is not in something, or not equal to something, or not a part of a set of something, which is kind of nice because it's exactly what I want to say. I want to say while the @ symbol is not in the email, continue asking for the email address. And I want to do something very similar to this. But instead of the word or here, or and here, we're going to use the word or. And I want to test to see if the last few characters, specifically the last 4 characters of my email address, if they're inside this domain set. So let's try that. We're going to go email between, now the last 4 characters, I can just go from -4 to the end, which is really a nice slice here, is not in domains. So what I have here is while the @ symbol's not in the email, do this stuff, or if the last 4 characters of my email address are not one of these 3 domains. And if either one of those things is true, then I'm going to do this line of code over again. But we should probably tell the user why they're not getting it. So I'm in this loop for one of 2 reasons. I should probably ask myself why I'm in this loop with an if statement, and then print some sort of error message appropriately. So let's go with this. We would get the @ symbol message if this was true. So really what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to say if, and exactly that, not an email, then I want to print this message. And the only other way for me to be in this loop, else, is because I don't have a proper domain. So I could say print email must end with .com, .org, or .net. And so I've got these 2 conditions here, I should say a single condition, a 2-way selection structure, that'll tell me why I'm in this repetitive loop for an invalid email, and then it will grab the email address for me and allow me to do it. So let's give that a shot. Let's enter an email address, and again, let's forget the @ symbol, so we'll go hello.com, and it says I'm missing the @ symbol, which is perfect. Enter my email address. Let's try missing the .com, .org, or .net, so we'll go hello at gmail.edu. Okay? Even though that's usually a pretty good domain, this one doesn't fit. So again, it says it must end with .com, .org, or .net. If I were to miss the boat on both of them, it's going to say that I need the @ symbol. It won't say that I need both, but that's okay. We'll allow the user to kind of work their way up to getting it correct. So if I just type hello, then it's going to say I'm missing the @ symbol. And when I put that back in, then it will say that I'm missing the .com, .org, or .net. But let's enter a valid email address, and we'll go hello@gmail.com. And it says thank you for the email address. So that was a valid email address. So input validation is an important process to go through, making sure that you're getting good data in so that you can get good information out. These are some pretty simple examples that you can kind of take and work in anywhere. You can do input validation with numbers, obviously, making sure that they're less than or greater than, or they're a specific type of number by dividing it by something. You can do validation with strings, obviously, And the not ins and the not equal tos or equal tos, they work extremely well when you're trying to validate some sort of input, whatever it may be. Maybe it's a first name, last name, and you want to make sure there's single space in there, or that the capitalization is done correctly, so you're checking for capital letters or whatever it may be. So it all just comes down to your problem that you need to validate the input for to make sure that you're getting good data in. So it's a pretty simple process, but the process has to be a looping activity. You want to make sure that you keep getting that input as often as you need until you get it correctly from your user. So that's about it for input validation. It's a pretty short chapter, pretty short notes, and mostly just examples and Python examples to kind of show you what's going on. Nothing really changes in pseudocode or flowchart. You would just flowchart or pseudocode the validation the same way you would any loop. Just have to make sure that you're able to get out of it in some sort of way by making sure that you're getting that input each and every time throughout the loop. So that wraps it up for this particular unit. In the next module, you'll have a project to do, so no real videos there to watch or chapters to read, but something to do. I'll have a video out there that will show an example of how it's supposed to work and everything, but we'll get into that in the next module, and time to do the assignment. So have fun with it, and again, if you have any questions with it, post those questions in the discussion forum for the module, and that way everybody can see it. So hopefully that all works out well, and yeah, we'll talk to you in a bit. Thanks.